Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and good night, and welcome to this week in War in the Webway. As always, I'm Ollie, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague Alan. Say hello, Alan.
Hello, everyone. We're actually doing an episode within a week
It's 2 weeks in a
of
row. It's great.
a previous one.
I was going to start
I
like that,
know,
and I
I
was
know.
like,
We
oh,
kind of we
maybe
kind of
we'll do.
slipped off it a bit.
Yeah, life gets in the way.
Yeah, wasn't it the other day? Something you said. Oh, we shouldn't mention how it like slips off because it's life and stuff.
I just it's going to be
The
longevity.
first sentence we come out with is that.
If you guys are from the future and listening to us, then please note we were way worse. We got so much better because it's the future. You can promise anything you want. Right. This week I think we've got a very interesting topic to talk about. So you put up a poll on our community page thing, and it's a very interesting poll. And what I want to make this very clear on is we've done plenty of videos on the units we're going to cover here. So it's not going to be necessarily a unit perspective. Go check out other videos. But what people voted for, I thought was an interesting story. So the question you asked was, what is our most impactful unit in the new meta? Now, do you want to go over why you came up with this question? What was it going through your mind?
Uh, yeah. I mean, it was kind of like one of those weird things. I was sat at work and I just finished like a really crap call with about 20 people on the call, and for the last 10 minutes of the call, all I was thinking about was what unit should I put in my arm? That kind of stuff, right? And it was one of those instances where when you look on like Reddit or the London Wargaming Guild Custodes chat or the different Custodes chats that I'm in, everyone's got a different opinion on what to put in, and it just seems like there's no, whereas there might be a bit of a general consensus around in the Custodes playing community, there's a pretty wide kind of difference of opinion. So I kind of wanted to gauge that really because it's interesting. I
So
mean,
I
we all
I thought
go on.
saying impactful unit was an because you didn't say best. Like, what's our best unit? I think people would have responded to, but impactful is one of those words that, again, this is not meant to be an English lesson or school or anything, but it's one of those words that has a different kind of meaning to me, right? Because I didn't know the answer. Honestly, I picked best, but impactful is like a game changing unit, and one of your choices is Draxxus and Guard. Let's throw it to you. The options were Draxxus with Guard, Wardens, Venatari, a Caladius tank, or Allarus. What would you have picked?
Oh, I put Draxxus and guard.
Yeah,
That was mine.
I thought
So
you'd
the,
pick
the
that.
results the results were Draxxus and guard got 19%. We had over 50 votes, right? So this
Thank
isn't
you for
like,
everyone that voted, by the way.
oh
We really
yeah,
appreciate it.
thank you. Yeah, very much so. This isn't like everyone in the whole world that plays Custodes thinks this. No, but this it's quite a good sample,
Of
right?
our
So
community, this is what people
we're
thought about.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if we get on average, what, 800 views or something, so this is quite a good this is quite a good snippet of that. But 19% said Draxxus and Guard, 20% said Wardens, 46% said Venatari, 6% said Caladius, and 9% said Allarus.
So,
Um,
first off, I thought it was a really good spread that you put up there, right? It covered, some shooting, it covered some combat, it covered some tricks with Venatari. I thought it was a nice spread. Um, I'm surprised by some of these results. I'm surprised by how skewed the Venatari result is.
I'm generally not, because it goes back to that word impactful, right?
Mm.
And that's relative. And I think when the points came down for Venetari, it gave us a new lease of life when you layered that with the shield host changes,
Mm.
and it then enabled. I mean, any unit of ours, when you're doing exploding fives, increases its lethality dramatically.
Yes.
When you add lance in there, that's when it just goes nuts. Um, I think what's really, obviously, we don't want to go over. We've done a whole video on Venetari before, when we were comparing them, looking at them, and that's back when they were like ridiculously high points and stuff. Um, but it's interesting because
You don't like
before
them.
we came online, I was thinking, I mean, I do, but I only put three in a squad, and every list, three in my list, sorry, one squad of three. Every single list that I'm seeing has two or three squads, and
So my list
they're obviously
designs,
working for them.
my list designs have two threes and one six, and the idea being I can bring in the six behind something else and then potentially heroically intervene into a unit that might charge, like a counter charge unit, and then I get 2 turns of being quite strong combat threat, 300 odd points. I quite like that, but yeah, it was surprising because you're only running the three, and you're getting used to the three, but you're not intending to run any more than that, right? Like it was just a very different view to, I think. Um, it's surprising the gulf between that and Wardens. That's my point. 46% Venatari, 20% Wardens. I'd have picked Wardens, by the way.
You'd put Warden,
I'd
right?
pick
Okay. I mean,
Wardens.
I just think that what's interesting is that obviously it's going to change on your what models you've got. Say,
Yes,
for
of
example,
course.
if you don't have Venatari, you're going to choose Wardens, that kind of stuff. If you don't have, or if you're playing into a meta, which you're playing into a marine heavy meta, then Venatari are going to be great.
Yeah, yeah.
Because instead of threes, you're winning on twos, things like that, right? For a lot of their marines. Also, Venatari are great into tanks.
I mean, you're pissing Venatari got my
Uh,
Vindicator on the weekend, so let's not talk about that too
both of
much.
them, both
I
of them.
know, I know, dude.
Yeah, both of
One
them. Mate.
solo. I killed two of them. There's one guy just went ham and got everyone else. I was not a happy bunny, but
For anyone listening, I had an absolute hero of a single Venatari on Saturday. Um, Ollie, Rapid Ingress 2.
not
Was
rapid
it
ingress,
Rapid
but
Ingress?
no,
No, no,
but
no, no.
putting on the edge. Strat reserve.
Strategic Strat Reserved, two Vindicators and a Hellbrute. And I responded by sending my one squad of three Venatari towards them. He overwatched and killed two in Overwatch. And then I got my single Venatari into combat with one. Bearing in mind,
I'd done mortal
you'd
wounds to
failed.
myself and the dark packs and
You'd
whatever.
done mortal wounds to yourself with the dot pad, yeah. But that one Venatari killed the in 3 rounds of combat. Killed
Two Vindicators.
two Vindicators.
Yep,
It was insane.
yep. So
It was nuts.
I'm not saying that's normal dice rolling. Like, don't plan on three Venatari picking up that many tanks. But yeah, they are great into tanks. Lance is
One
fantastic.
Venatari, my friend. One Venatari.
I wish it wasn't against you. I wish it was against somebody else because I could like be like, it happens sometimes. But against you, I'm just like, damn it, you're gonna remember that forever now. Um, but yeah, so Venatari into tanks are good. Lance is fantastic. I understand the Venatari choice as impactful. Having a free rapid ingress, so you're not spending your CP on that. Because if we think about how let's say how I would play, and then we can layer in what you would do. I want to rapid ingress the Warden squad with a Blade Champion for advance and charge. So having 3 rapid ingresses with 3 units of Venatari is actually quite powerful as well. So you get 4 things coming down in the same turn. Real dangerous, really dangerous.
I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying. I like. With anything in this game, it's the multiple layers.
Yeah,
If you look at like any unit in the whole game, um, if they've only got like one good rule, unless that one individual rule is insane, then they rely on multiple rules from multiple directions, whether that's an enhancement from a character that's joined them, and then another ability, and then a stratagem, and then a detachment ability. All of those things combined make the unit. And with the Venatari, um, you get the free rapid ingress, you've got the 10-inch move, you've
fly.
got the fly, you've got the exploding fives, um, and you've got the lance. So
They're also the
it's
cheapest Custodian's body we can run as well, right? So you're still gonna get the
no,
OC
no,
two.
they're not. No,
Are they not?
no, guard is
How many points is the
because
guard?
it's the cheapest squad. It's the cheapest squad, but the bodies, the guard get 4 for 180.
5.
So in terms of OC, a
Yeah,
guard
yeah.
squad will be most guard squads should run the Vexilla.
Yeah, which we said before.
So you'll be running at 12 OC, whereas a Venatari would be 6.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, it's interesting, right? So I'm thinking about the positives of Venatari. Having fly and fast move is the only thing that can go through walls and do the same threat range as it's a more guaranteed threat range than everything else, but it can't have characters with it. It can't have a Vexilla with it. You have to run them with the spears now, not with the pistols and shields like I've got all mine laid up with, because the buckler is awful, and the pistol's not great. So they are mono build, I think, but they are very strong.
If you're going in a 6-man squad, I'd probably have one destroyer there, kinetic, one buckler,
Just so you can tank something.
because it gives you an extra wound.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone shoots you with damage, say 2 damage, or
3 damage.
for example a Forge Fiend, 3 damage. Sorry, a Forge Fiend goes into you. You can, if you've got, if say for example you've got 4 saves to make, then those 4 you're going to fail 2, which is going to be absorbed by this guy with 4 wounds. So, instead of losing 2 guys, you lose 1. It just allows you to play with it a bit. It's I would, it's 6-man, but on a 3-man, I wouldn't. I just have all spears.
Yeah, I agree. So Venatari, I understand the Venatari. Wardens were low. I thought Wardens would be higher up. Wardens need a character though. This is what we're saying just before we came online. Like, if I wonder if the results would have been different if we put Wardens with Blade Champion or Wardens with something else, because part of the Wardens' role by themselves, they're not -1 to wound unless they got a character with them. But the
Yeah. So
go on.
what's really weird, Venatari. Again, it goes back to that word, right? Venatari can be really impactful on their own.
Yep,
They don't need another unit with them. Wardens,
have to have them.
you've got to really have a character, and the reason you've got to have a character, defensively, is that otherwise you don't get the -1 to wound if the strength is higher than your toughness.
Yep.
But in addition, Wardens don't have rerolls, so by having a character, it adds offense, right? Offensive reach or offensive output, especially if it's a shield captain, because then all of a sudden you just go, right, okay.
Free strats or discount strats and
Yeah, free strat for example, I don't know, like a +1 attack or something if you've lost a guy or something, I don't know. And then, but also it's the once a game you get lethal and sustained on 5s. So yeah, but impactful wise, they do very different things.
mm-hmm.
But what's interesting is that it's over double the number of people are voting for an offensive unit.
Yeah.
Again, in comparison to a defensive unit.
The thing I love about the Wardens is the fact that they can take the punch and they then punch back. And if you can time the 4+++ properly, you can. I always run out of pluses. You can do so much work with them. If you do rapidly aggressive them in with the Blade Champion in cover, they don't get seen. They can come out, smash something. You don't have to pop it. You can pop it when you get shot. Maybe heroic intervene something, or then move on and get the next one. Like, there's a lot of movement you can get with one Warden squad with the right character. And so the defensive for me.
I think the issue here. Yeah, sorry, go on. Finish.
No.
Finish.
I was going to say. So for me, the Wardens allow you to have the defensive profile of what I think Custodes should have anyway, and still do what Custodes do, which is smash and combat, 5 attacks each. Shooting's not too bad, but you're right. Not having the rerolls is a big loss. What was your final thoughts on this? Because I then want to move on to the one that you pick, because this is a really interesting one for me.
I mean, final thoughts on Wardens. I mean, most games that I've won, the Wardens have been absolutely critical. And it's always been around defensive ability. So, on the weekend when I was playing against, I played Alex. So Alex was running Drukhari, really good Drukhari player, and I always layer if I can, Valerian with Wardens. And the reason I do that is because
Double defense.
it's double defense. But when you've got a shield captain with one, a blade champion with one, I threw him with a squad of Wardens in, and I ended up getting a 9-inch charge or whatever, and I got some really good killing done. Secondly, I got hit by an absolutely astronomical amount of damage, like a whole Incubi squad. I got shot by, the lance ones that can move again. I always forget their names.
Scourges.
And also, Scourges, that's it. And then a whole court of the Archon with an Archon, which is the one that increases your CP spend by 1. And I was sat there, I was thinking, okay, I'm not going to spend any CP on this. It's a Blade Champion and 4 Wardens, only 4. I'm going to pop my 4 Feel No Pain in combat, and I'm going to see what happens. And so I lost 1 guy in shooting, maybe no, 2 guys in shooting. Yep. So when they all charged, I had two Wardens and the Blade Champ. He then used 2 power from Pains on these big units.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, I had my Blade Champion alive on 2 wounds. And then the Blade Champion basically powered up and nuked one of the Incubi squads. Now, in and of itself, everyone would think, oh, well, you only got 1 guy left, that's not going to do, he's not going to be able to do much damage, blah, blah, blah. But having a Blade Champion in your opponent's, in the middle of their army, he's still a Blade Champion, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's still a 2 OC Custodian body. 1 CP, right, I'm going to make him fall back and charge.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing I know, he's just absolutely causing havoc. So I tend to use them as a bit of a mechanism for delivering something that's more dangerous, whether that be Trajan or a Blade Champion.
So I think what's interesting about that... Sorry to interrupt the flow, but what's interesting about that is that the Wardens aren't the impactful unit. They are the damage absorption for your impactful character. And maybe other people are experiencing the same sort of thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, so for example, I played not so long ago. I played World Eaters.
Mm-hmm.
Now we don't have the best we don't have the best scores into World Eaters at the moment. So what I was finding was, I thought to myself, I need Trajan to do the damage here, because this guy is absolutely overflowing with 8-bound.
Yep.
So I need my damage 3, so I need Trajan. So I put him with the Wardens. For the first combat phase that the Wardens were in action, I popped my Fort Feel No Pain. I lost most of the Warden squad.
Right.
But what that enabled me to do is the next turn, I put my 2 up Invulnerable Save on Trajan. Yeah. Exactly. So T-Man was still alive, therefore I got 2 whole turns of getting that out. And whereas previously I would say, right, okay, well, Trajan's only really astronomically good when he's doing his 12 attacks.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I didn't use it for that. I used it for the 2 up Inform, because I was thinking, well, I've got exploding 5s anyway. All I need is 2 or 3 5s. I'll keep a CP to reroll a 1, and all of a sudden I've got 8 or 9 hits. So, I'm still going to nuke a squad of 3 or seriously damage a squad of 3.
Interesting.
A squad of 6. Yeah. So I was kind of like using it as him to kind of get him as kind of as much as I could. But anyway, yeah. So that's for me. That's kind of Warden. So maybe I'm using them wrong. Maybe there's kind of other ways, but that's how I tend to think of them, rightly or wrongly, I think.
It's just interesting, because if other people are thinking like that, that might explain why Wardens were second, but not like there's a massive gulf, because they are like I say, it'd be interesting if we redid the same poll and said Wardens with character, if people consider them differently. Now, I don't want to harbour on Wardens too long. I want to get on to Draxxus, because Draxxus is your favourite unit. Not putting words in your mouth there. Would you say Draxxus is your favourite unit? With God.
So much fun. But I'm really kind of nervous because the agents Codex.
I'm hoping she gets
on Saturday, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm hoping she gets nerfed. Like, I get it, right? She's awesome. But she's in every single Custodes list. She's an auto take, and she shouldn't be. Shouldn't be that powerful. No other Inquisitors like that. Greyfax, you were getting the right way of doing it. Cotiers are getting the right way of doing it, but Draxxus never shifted from your list for like a year.
The reason Draxxus didn't shift was primarily because of the way that they completely mismanaged mortal wounds and dev wounds.
Yeah.
I think if they'd have kind of maintained it, or they've had a pretty consistent approach to it, then Draxxus may have dropped off. The reason she's auto take at the moment is because you need at least one or two guard units with battle line, and your characters are going with Wardens, and I usually find that I'm putting Draxxus in because there's one objective that's usually your opponent can get line of sight on or something, and you just need that if you're within outside of 18 inches you can't shoot me, and therefore that objective is then completely safe, unless they rapid ingress or deep strike. So she's just very agile and lets that guard squad very agile. I mean I've never played against Draxxus. I've played a lot of mirror matches, but I've never played against Draxxus for some reason. Yeah, I mean, what about in our games? What's it been like?
So, I always underestimate how much damage she does, no matter how many times I play you. It's the out of line of sight. It's always the damage too. It's just the benefit in the rerolls from the guard. I don't think she should get personally, but whatever. She just feels like she's the perfect storm in what 10th edition currently is. I don't know. I don't consider her the right way of playing the game. I don't think that was the intention for Draxxus, but she's so strong. And she's stronger in Custodes than she is in any other faction because of the guard rerolls and because of the out the line of sight shooting.
It's the double shoot.
So it's the double shoot. It's the full rerolls, and it's the out of line of sight. She does something that the rest of Custodes can't do, which is potentially has a very strong shooting phase, and then if you stay on your objective, continues to be a strong shooting phase. I think she's great. I think she's great. She's annoying. I always underrate her every time. And if we play again, I'll continue to underrate her.
I think what's anyone listening, like who's kind of unsure to value in shooting, she just gets around the fact that most of our shooting, incidental shooting from our infantry is -1.
Mm-hmm.
She just gets around that because it's just dev, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's 8 shots when you fire twice. So I don't know. I can't see her staying the same.
I can't see her staying the same at all.
I can't see her staying the same. I'd like her to. I think she should probably be around 100 points, if I'm honest.
What's she at the moment? 85?
85, yeah. I think for 100 points I'd still pay. But I think it's going to be a bit of an impact on us. Substantial impact, because we'll be affected more than anyone if they nerf her.
Have you already started thinking about what you're going to take instead, potentially? Or would you replace her with something else from Imperial agents? Like, is it always going to be an Imperial agent?
Oh, no, I got no idea. I got absolutely no idea, mate. I mean, you saw. I mean, for anyone listening, today they just released the data sheet for the Voidsman and the Vindicator. The Vindicator's changed. It's a bit more tasty now. It's a bit more interesting. But the Voidsman, they're no longer battle line.
So all that stuff we were talking about last week about list ideas lasted 1 week. You got to play with it. Exactly. You're like, it's quite cool. And then they're like, no, I don't think so. You can go away with that.
No, but I think it just goes to show that I don't think the Vindicate was particularly busted. It was pretty good at 80 points. It wasn't that bad. It was a good profile. The Voidsman, I think, were a good profile. I think being battle line was good. So
Losing battle lines
they're
always good.
changing things. Yeah, yeah, they're changing things. I mean, obviously we don't know the rules. We haven't seen anything, but I often find that with Games Workshop, they just like to change things for the sake of changing.
It keeps the game fresh. It means
A
people are
bit
buying
of
new things. Like, put your
a
tinfoil.
bit of siege.
Yeah.
But
But if we put our tinfoil
yeah,
hats on, it's because they will buy. They continue to buy things, right?
yeah. But it is what it is. To be brutally honest, right? We're just gonna have to deal with it, and I think that the additional units coming out, or not additional, sorry, but the changes around it. I'm interested to see what the Death Watch do and
I'm
the Grey
fascinated by
Knights and
that.
stuff.
I love my Death Watch. I haven't been able to put one on the table for so long. Um, so I'm genuinely excited for Death Watch. Grey Knights I can never play. They're just never not my faction. Even though I've got an army of them, I enjoy painting them. But Death Watch, I had some good fun back in the day of 8th edition. I used to run a Death Watch veteran squad in my Custodes because they had cheap shields. And I remember one time playing at Bad Moon, and the guy charged me with his knight, big stompy knight, and my Death Watch just tanked it for 3 turns. And he's like, "Why are they not dying?" And I was like, "Because Death Watch are awesome." And like it basically gave me a
Yeah,
chance
I
for my
still remember.
Custodes to go around and kill stuff. It's a good game.
Do you remember that list that was like for one tournament at the LGT, and it was like what 50 or 60 veterans, all with shields and
Yeah,
storm bolters.
yeah. Back in
It's
the
just
day with the
it was just
Stormbolters, that was
ridiculous.
so good. But yeah, so I think Imperial Agents will be interesting. I think Draxxus will get nerfed. I can't see it being the same. Um,
I can't see it being the same, but I think going back to the results, 20% Draxus and Guard, that was surprising for me. Uh, I think Draxus and Guard, the reason they're so impactful, in my completely in my opinion, is that they can be impactful defensively, offensively in shooting, and offensively in combat.
so
Um, so that
I would say sorry to interrupt there, mate, but I would say
no, go on.
one of the questions you said before we came online was interesting. You went, "Have you played with Draxxus?" I said no. I think there are people out there that are purists that only play with the Codex, and therefore they don't like subbing in an Inquisitor. And also, back in the day, Draxxus was quite hard to come by. Like people couldn't find the model, so I don't know if people then tried to like either outpay for it or they tried to work around it. But it could be a lack of exposure to just how dangerous Draxxus is, because Draxxus is damn scary, right? So I'm not sure if that's a skewed result, or I'm not sure if that's what people genuinely think because of the profile and they play with her.
Yeah, I mean, look, fundamentally, if Traxxas disappears and goes, we are still going to have a pretty decent um, a army list. I think we're just gonna lose some of the kind of agility that we can put on the tabletop, and I think um, if I'm going to be kind of looking at it more broadly, I would say that Games Workshop needs to keep the agents interesting, more so for Custodes, because Custodes, from a competitive standpoint, only have really one front runner detachment with probably a second, maybe a little bit further back, and then two that are right down in the bin. So as we already have a limited roster,
Mm-hmm.
we're limited on rosters, we're limited on detachments. You know, we need some form of variation, and I think that the um, the access to agents grants us that. And so, I'd like to see them not absolutely destroy our ability to put agents in or overcost them or whatever, because I think it will have an just like you said that Custodes benefit the most from Draxus.
Mm-hmm.
We benefit the most from Kotias. We benefit the most um, from what's the name,
Greyfax.
Greyfax. If they start changing all of those things around, then will those Inquisitors around them will be hit the most
Interesting.
from our inability to include them, and I think that might be an issue. Not that very many people are running Greyfax or Cotia
But the
has
ability to run
or
them,
Draxxus.
everyone's
But
running
yeah,
Draxxus.
exactly.
Like, everyone's running Draxxus.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting. Okay, now I don't want to harbour on it too much because people don't think they're impactful, and I don't want to tread over water. But I thought where Allarus came was interesting. Only 9% of people thought Allarus were the most impactful unit. Now, I'm being really careful here not to read that as because they're not impactful, right? And it's just that other things are more impactful. But like
Yeah, I
with
guess. I mean, I don't run them. I mean, would you run them?
no,
Would you run Allarus
maybe a two-man
if
unit
you're
with no
making a list
character,
now?
but because they do the from Golden Light jump, right? So I like running things that nothing else can do, and so being able to like bring them down and then bring them back up and bring them down, I really like that play. Um, I just don't think they
I mean,
are
that
gone.
no. I was just gonna say. I think you're absolutely right. I think two man's the best way to do it. But the big blobs.
No, I wouldn't run the
I've
bricks.
never been a fan of the big blobs.
No, not at all.
I wouldn't run them, but for Shield Host and for Talons, there's one build for each of those factions,
Mm-hmm.
which really benefit the Allarus. And for Shield Host, that's you get a big brick and you put the Shield Captain with them, and then you put the um,
Cover,
ignore
shooting.
cover
Yeah,
on the shooting, and then you give them sustained, and the shooting's just insane.
yeah, yeah.
Um, because you can give them sustained for free with the Shield Captain. Um, Second one is the Talons, and you put a big brick of them in, and you basically popping the strat for free, which is increase their strength to all their shooting to strength 5,
Yeah,
and then you're making them -2.
which is nice.
Um, yeah, that's good. That's real good. So I can see why people, if they've run them in either of those two, and it's been impactful, they would want to do it again. I can see that. I mean, can you see that from your point of view?
Yeah, no, so I absolutely can, and I think when we go back to you said something earlier on which was really interesting, and I do want to like just point that out. If you've only got a certain number of models, Allarus is something that comes in every box set. Like people have Allarus, right? Um, so you've got to
Mm.
get the best use out of them, and those are two ways you can do it. I like from Golden Light because I like being able to either start on the board, charge, say outside of a Cronus or a Land Raider, go up, come back down, and do the same thing. Um, Especially with the change, so they don't have to come back down next turn. It gives you a lot more flexibility with that unit. I just think the points are better elsewhere for Custodes.
Yeah, I think the big issue is the points. I think because where I think the way that the whole game has changed with Prime Nexus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Secondaries, much more actions. Scoring I find is harder.
Scoring so hard.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
we need more, more units. We need more activations. We need. I mean, how many times have I picked, two secondaries, and both of them are action
Yep.
secondaries,
Yep.
and I'm thinking to myself, I've only got like 6 units. This is turn 3. I've only got 6 units on the board now.
It's one of the reasons why I'm
I
building the
can't.
CSM list with a bunch of crappy units that can do anything. But so having that ability to go up and come back down and say get a nice sabotage that you know somebody can't get to you or something like that. But yeah, I think there is a use for two man Allarus, 240 mil bases, a lot easier to fit in. I would never run him as a big blob. I never liked him as running a big blob. I never run him a big blob.
I
Okay.
mean, I'd probably say, to be honest, there's probably more of a case for a single Allarus
Can
shield
you
captain than there is for a two-man, even though they're pretty much the same cost.
the reduced damage? Sorry, reduce all damage to 1 is you don't need to lead a unit, do you?
No, because it's just for you.
So yeah, I can see a single shield captain. Um,
Yeah, because it's one 40 mil instead of two.
Yeah, I can see that.
Um,
But you don't get
you're
from gold alone.
tankier. True, but again, it comes down to
What's the
you
purpose
know,
of that unit at that time? Yeah, I
yeah,
get the
pros
thought.
and cons, isn't it? Really,
Yeah,
what you're trading off for, you know?
yeah, it's interesting. And then so the final one, okay, let me just do some quick maths. You entertain people. Just 1 second. Where's calculator? There you go. So 54
Oh
times
God.
6% is
Are you looking at how many
three.
people voted?
Three people
I think
voted
you should
for
be
for
what
Caladius. Like that surprises
three?
me. Three. That really surprises me. So
I genuinely, I said this on last week's episode. I genuinely think that they have a role in the army, but I think they're very overrated. I think they're very overrated, and I
I
think
put two in
I've
from
just
from
noticed.
get go.
Really,
Yeah. I always run two. Like in all my list, in all my theory crafted lists, I always run two.
there's so much terrain on the board now. Every single ruin
This
is
is true.
obscuring. Fly is dreadful. They're quite bulky. They're 215 points. And it's like I said before, if you go into something with an invuln, or you go into something with a 2-up save that then has cover, you can. I mean, yeah. Well, I mean,
So it,
you're not going to be able to do what you need it to do.
that's a fair critique. To be fair, I think that they are. Every time I face them, they're scary because whatever they look at, they go pick up on mine. Marine vehicles are with no invuln. They are susceptible to yes with armor contempt, yes with cover, yes with the 2-up save, but their ability to spike on damage is huge. And if
But
somebody targets that, you can then push up your Wardens, you can push up your Venatari, you can push up a bunch of other stuff to get into a position where you can really hurt. So that's how I'm thinking of it.
first time I ever, I see what you mean. But the first time I ever played Firestorm, someone with a Redeemer
Mm.
moved and advanced the Redeemer towards the middle. The Redeemer had six or five of the double flamer guys, the
Yep.
aggressors, and a captain or something inside. I line up two Caladius to shoot it. He pops smoke.
Right.
Out of the eight shots, six hit him.
Yeah.
He's in cover because he's towing behind, like the tiniest portion of his tank's behind. So I'm winning on fours with a reroll.
Right.
I think I got 4 or 5 wounds through, which is about right. You know, which is kind of about I thought maths. He's got a 4-up save. He makes 3.
Yep.
I think I can't remember if 1 or 2 went through. I think it was 2. I rolled a 4 and a 2. You know, I'm not going to spend a CP. This is like round 1. I need the CP to build up on the 2, and I would have just rolled it into a 1 anyway. So all of a sudden, I'm doing 9 damage to him, and
That's why you run
I've
two.
used 400. No, that's with 2. That's
Oh, it
off
was a
2.
two.
9 damage off. That was 9 damage off 2. Caladius shooting into him,
Jeez.
and um, he was out of charge range turns 1, so I couldn't get into him to kill him off. And the next turn, you know, it was just. I think I ended up winning that game, but I was just like, they just from that point. Admittedly, it was a pretty extreme example, but he didn't even pop Arm of Contempt because he said to me, "Oh, I don't need to. I've got a 4-up."
It's valid.
And I was like, okay, you know, he did the maths in his head. He knew I couldn't charge him, and he didn't have any other shooting into him. So from that point, I was like the Caladius. Now look, not everyone is going to have the same experience or whatever, but
Yeah.
it just really put me off them.
So for me, I'm sitting there going, right, I got a Rhino, even though it's a 3-up save. Caladius pops it, Custodes kills what comes out. So but it's got good movement still. Yes, fly sucks. Yes, it's bulky. Yes, new terrain. There are still some good firing angles, and anything that comes out in a vehicle on a 3-up save will die. It'll be usually winning everything on 3s, with D6 plus 1 damage,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So maybe not 2
D6
anymore.
plus 2.
to play D6 plus 2. So maybe not
Yeah.
2, but 1. I would always take 1.
Look, you're always going to take rhinos, but how many times, if you watch any Art of War games or any um, you know you know competitive games on YouTube or War Games Live or something like that on YouTube, when you're watching them, the rhinos are always tucked into the ruins in which they can hide.
Yeah, but even
Just
if it
over an
tucks
inch
in,
away
it's
from the wall.
-4 D6 plus 2. Is that what it is?
There's -3.
-3.
But
Right. So
the
cover
point is,
-2.
you're not going to get the angle because they're tucked in. And if you do get the angle, you're so close to them that whatever's coming out is going to kill you. So I really struggle to I really struggle to see where the benefits are for them unless you're going into something like War Dog spam or something, or Sagittar spam, or something like that.
For me, it's a guard squad
I
versus Caladius, and the Caladius does something the rest of your army doesn't do, which is high damage, potential to spike. But if it doesn't, it's still only 215 points. It's still only 10% of your army. 10 point something percent of your army. So it's the ability for it to be a really good piece. It's also scary. So having it on the battlefield for about 10% of your army forces your opponent not to stick out, because then you'll kill it. It forces them to play cagier. And if you are playing somebody who is either newer or just switches off or is dumb like me, you can pick up your points back for that. And or you even soften up a target, soften up something that's an elite infantry unit, and then smash them with something else, and then not have to pop up other strats and stuff like that. Like I don't know, I like a Caladius. I think it has a potential for a huge damage spike, and the risk is low, in my opinion.
yeah,
Like
I do think.
So I was going to say, I'd rather run
Sorry,
Caladius
go
over
on.
your Sagi every time.
Yeah, I think it's personal opinion, right? It's
Yeah,
each their own.
that's
I
the point
do
of
think
this.
that especially on the new maps, Caladius
Mm-hmm.
just drop off. But yeah, I mean, also they're very expensive financially. But having said that, the Coronas is just.
I've got 3 Caladius. I wish I
Um,
didn't. I've got 3 Palace as well. Jesus Christ, what was I
oh,
thinking?
so have I. So have I. Got 3 Pallas, 3 Caladius, 1 Coronas. I got 1 each of the flyers as well. So that's an absolute shocker that they're so bad.
Yeah,
I was gonna put the Orion on here as a laugh.
I,
Uh,
I always wanted the Orion because I love your Orion, and I'm just like, I can't pay for that. If my missus finds out, she'll kill me. What's that big lump of resin? Don't worry about it. I
got it when
want
it
it.
wasn't that bad actually.
Did you?
Yeah, I got it when it
Back
wasn't
in the
that
day.
bad. Yeah, well the Games Workshop at Tottenham Court Road does Forge World.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there's a big wall with Forge World on, and I went in and I was going to get like some paints, like Retributor Gold or something, and I walked out with an Orion, and like the Coronas as well. I was like, oh god.
That salesperson definitely got his bonus for me upselling you.
he,
Oh,
I was like,
what'd you
oh,
play?
he came up to me. What do you play?
Oh, Custodes. Oh, you probably have all these models, but have you got this one? No. Tell me more.
Yeah, this it was when I was quite new and inexperienced in the ways of the pile of shame, but yeah, okay. Going back to the like, thank you everyone who responded. I do really think it's interesting because I'm at the point now where I'm struggling to see ways of I feel improving my list, and I do also at the same point think that, well, if the rest of the community thinks Venatari is so good and so impactful on the tabletop, like maybe I need to think about them again, because I'd kind of just thought in my head, maybe a 1 unit or maximum 2 units of 3, and then that would be it. But maybe I need to think about them again, to be honest.
Yeah, and again, this is part of it, right? So, I think That's something I want to say on this. If you disagree with anything we've said, please put it in the comments. We read all comments. If there's another unit you think is more impactful than one of the 5 we just listed, also put that down there, because it'd be interesting to maybe do a follow-up of what other people in the comment section think are the most impactful units. I'm struggling to think of anything that they might put on there, because nobody's put bikes on there, are they? But maybe we've missed something. Maybe we've missed a version or something in your local meta that you're using that's very, very good. Did you ever get any use out of
I purposely
Terminators
didn't.
and Flamers? I'm trying to think about like stuff that.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think about like stuff that doesn't do like what the rest of the army does, right? So Flamer Terminators, nothing else.
Do you mean in 10th?
Yeah, in 10th.
No. I tested them once with the new codex, with the not the fists, the claws, so 7 attacks.
Yeah.
And they were in combat absolutely incredible. But that was back when you layered the 5s and the extra AP.
Of course.
Now you've got to choose between the two. And so I think I gave someone like 36 saves to make.
From three of them?
From 3 of them, yeah, because it was 7 attacks each, right? So it's 21. And I spiked on the 5s. And it was -3, 1 damage. And it was just nuts. They felt very good. And I moved up flamed, charged, killed 2 units. Then someone moved into. I overwatched, flamed, killed another. So I cleared chaff like you would not believe. But then they died very quickly. So yeah, I decided not to use them again. That was back when they were over 200 points. So now they may be a little bit more palatable, but I'm just not too sure.
Gotcha. Cool. Anything else? Any final thoughts? Any closing thoughts for you?
No. I mean, this Saturday we're going to find out unless someone is going to leak it before, in which case we'll try and look at really some grainy photos or something like that. But this Saturday is going to be, I would say, more impactful for Custodes in our ability to be competitive.
How you play, definitely, yeah.
Because if you're competitive. If you're a competitive Custodes player, really take note of what's coming out on Saturday or what's coming up for pre-order on Saturday, and really start thinking about it, because I think, it's going to be important for us.
Agree. Completely agree. Cool.
One thing I did want to say, Ollie, I haven't spoken to you about this before, but we've had a lot of people who've said that they're beginners, so they'd like us to do a beginner-orientated video. And I know at the very start we said that we were just going to do competitive-based ones, but I think probably it would be a really good idea to do a beginner's entry level, that kind of stuff video. Good. So I thought that'd be a good idea next.
Cool, I'll be the next one.
If we're not talking about
Imperial
agents, that is.
Well, if we are, then that'll be the one after, because that's called consistency. You made it this far. Thank you very much.
One a week.
Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone.
Until next time.